World's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
Here, if you have a beard, random men are going to always walk up to you and try to lick your beard.
Ew, that's so disgusting. Oh.
You're one of Mitten's kittens.
Hold on. Oh, so I'm like, nope. Oh, well, you lost all your fleets.
Oh, fuck. Not what we intended. Oh, God. What do we do?
The Meta Show.
We're live. Oh my.
What's up, everyone, guys? Welcome to the Meta Show. We have just myself and the Mittani today. We're going to have a special NullSec power hour. Literally power hour this time instead of our normal 10 minutes.
Well, I think it's going to be really exciting, especially considering the last couple of shows that we've been doing. We've had everybody talking about, what our guests from CCP have been saying about Fozzie Sove. Conveniently, ladies and gentlemen, today we can call it Fozzie Sove for the entire show because we don't have to be polite and we can just go back to calling it what everybody else calls it, which is good.
Well, actually, speaking of CCP guests, next week we have CCP. Oh man, I can't remember. Can't remember his name now. CCP Manifest. Sorry, CCP Manifest is going to be on the stream.
Manifest himself.
Yes, Manifest.
The PR. He's not a brand manager, but he's basically been one of the voice of EVE in public on Reddit and in front of the press for a long time now. That's going to be very exciting. Wow, Hypnokitten is
it's
like
all
going
over the
crazy
place.
over
So
here.
many resubs.
Okay. Wow, that's excellent. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Wow. Okay.
I was going to start doing shout-outs, but there's just so many.
I wasn't sure whether people were actually supporting us or whether they just really want to see the thing block out the screen and make me react in horror. But either way, what we can do. What can we do? I just want to say though, before we get into it, while we are going to be talking a lot about Fozzie Sove, and what I want to do, because we missed a lot of questions the last couple of times that we've had CCP guests on, because we're just asking as much as we can from our pre-show stockpile. This show is going to have a lot of Q&A because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on in NullSec recently. It's sort of subtle and all of it keys into what we've been dealing with Fozzie Sove. But before we get into that, gritty stuff, I do want to thank CCP as usual for supporting us. We have some rookie pirate ship codes to give away. They are confident enough in our community that they're willing to support our community, help us support you, even if we say some things about how the game could be improved. So thank you, CCP. Thank you to Blue Microphones for sponsoring us. And also thank you to Razer for our fantastic headsets. And I also, while we're talking about headsets and fashion, before we really get stuck in, Laz, do you have something to tell the class?
I have new hairstyle, guys. You guys
a new
hairstyle, like a honest to goodness. All the times that I've made fun of you, Alex, for going to the hairdresser, I've been to a hairdresser, get my groove done.
You can call it a stylist if you're insecure with your masculinity. You don't have to say I'm going to go. You can say I'm going to go get my hair done or I'm going to go see my stylist. But I think that you will find that girls like you if you have hair that doesn't look like that. Is fantastic. Like you're rocking the whole I don't know if it's a Justin Timberlake or if you start getting prison tattoos, and if you get fake prison tattoos and one of those god awful man buns, then we're gonna have some words like that's.
I was gonna go join a boy band after this. It seems the natural progression.
Well, now I know the name of it. Now it's called a rent boy haircut.
What?
A rent boy haircut that says Celesta Suna here in chat. So now
that's such a horrible name.
Yeah, I apologize. I do keep getting out of focus because I've been leaning into the camera to take a look and see what Laz looks like. It seems to be making my webcam freak out. So, well, I'll try to stop moving, and I just want to get closer to Laz's new hair. That's all it is.
Yeah, so we had so many resubs and then new subs that Hypnokitten get broken there for a second. It's fixed now, guys. So
broken as in we gonna have
there were so many repeats
that
it just gets stuck. Like it was.
You guys choked Hypnokitten.
Yeah, literally killed Hypnokitten for a second.
Obey Hypnokitten, not choke it. Wow. Well, we got a lot going on actually. I mean, I've been in San Diego and in Seattle for PAX and for visiting some of my friends out on the West Coast. And we just cleaned up the Providence invasion. On the last week's meta show, we talked about Providence briefly when we had Nullarbor on to discuss citadels. But meanwhile, in this last week, there hasn't been too much war at the level of an actual Providence-style invasion. But there's been sort of cleanup, aftermath, and a lot of drama across the board.
There's not been any wars, but there's been a lot of fires.
Absolutely. And we have somebody's asking in chat here, how do we feel about the Stunt Flores ban? We're actually going to be talking about that later on. But let's start out with I think it's probably Laz. What do you think is the biggest drama going on? I mean, it's not a software, but
no, the biggest drama is 100% Black Legion drama.
Black Legion drama, best drama.
I think they're upset because they haven't been talked about much in the past few months, so they just had to stir the pot a little bit themselves.
Anytime that there isn't a focus on Black Legion, they get a bit antsy. But that actually is sort of unusual, because one of the things that you saw in terms of Black Legion over the last, I guess, 5 months thereabouts, right? You know, in the run-up to Fozzie Sove being implemented, what have you. Black Legion, of course, was an elite PvP competitor to Pandemic Legion for a while, and there used to be this sort of Legion on Legion drama combat. Black Legion is a mercenary group that had a long history of breaking agreements, so they stopped kind of getting any mercenary work. And then Elo Knight, who was their leader, just sort of vanished. Like, he just took a break, or he just stopped doing anything. And a guy named Raknor ended up taking over. I believe I've had Raknor as a guest on the meta show. I wasn't here for that, but he's a good dude.
Yeah, Raknor was doing Euro stuff, and then Ipsimus was actually overall leading things, I believe.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting, because from our spy network, of course, usually speaking, we see whoever is making the most impact being the leader. And so all this time, I thought that Raknor was the one who was really moving and shaking. I mean, at least that's my view. I'm biased. I don't know who is wearing the little hat at the moment.
Yeah, it was Ipsimus, because that's actually a lot of the drama revolves around Ipsimus for this.
Oh, excellent. Well, then, before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and just finish bringing people up to speed to praise Raknor. So what happened was that, you know, Black Legion had lots of this internal drama back and forth. Elo's a very strong personality, and then he sort of steps back, and then Raknor took Black Legion to take territory in Fountain and actually hold Sov and get involved in this. And so if you saw their Fountain, there was this period where Black Legion and Brave Newbies were trying to hold Sov there. And I guess they just sort of gave up on it. There's a cultural conflict there. But Raknor struck me as a very able leader. Like, he seemed to be thinking in terms of the kind of brutal Machiavellian brass tacks bottom line stuff that most nullsec autocrats do. So it's kind of curious to see what's going to happen to them next. And Laz, what is why don't you give us a Cliff's Notes on what exactly is going on over there?
All right. Well, I guess just TLDR version of it is basically Black Legion had a meeting saying that they didn't like the way that things were going in Fountain. They were going to pull out because Aegis Sov, or Fozzie Sove, but they said everything was, all their complaints are revolving around Fozzie Sove, and this is not the first alliance we've seen move because of Fozzie Sove.
Pizza did that also recently as well, because I mean, Pizza was sort of their Black Legion's neighbor in the Delve region, you know, Fountain and Delve. And When I Am in Space, a very high profile, again, excellent leader. Space is one of these guys who, Pizza and Black Legion both used to be nullsec alliances that the rest of the autocrat world wouldn't really be able to work with reliably, because they would break their word, they'd break agreements, and they would just, you know, sort of an unmedicated ADHD, ooh, look, a squirrel, let's go over here kind of thing. So, you know, When I Am in Space and Black Legion, both of them reacted to Fozzie Sove by going, you know what, screw this, we're out. Pizza went to Lowsec about a month ago, again citing Fozzie Sove as the reason for it. What is Black Legion doing?
They actually pulled back to B-D originally, and that's when all this drama broke out, was once they moved to B-D, you saw Elo...
B-D on the edge of Cloud Ring, right? Edge of Cloud Ring, border into Fountain, right?
Yep, the gateway system there. One of the stations we dropped, actually, and then gave up when we get rid of Cloud Ring. But the big thing about that is all this drama didn't start until one of Elo Knight's real-life friends actually applied to Snuffbox, the Lowsec organization.
Okay.
And according to Black Legion policy, if you're caught apping to another alliance, you're immediately kicked. So Elo's real life friends gets kicked.
So it's a dual citizenship issue. Interesting. Okay.
Yep. So Elo Knight's real life friend gets kicked out of Black Legion, And then Elo, who forms a alt corp for himself and puts it into Black Legion, reinvites his friend who was just kicked out by the active leaders of Black Legion into his alt corp. So he's now back in Black Legion, which is where the drama starts off. So
Elo doesn't just say. I mean, had Elo handed over the reins formally, or I mean, because
Ipsimus at this point in time, Ipsimus is the CEO of Origin, the main corp.
Who has the shares?
That's where the drama comes in.
Oh gosh, share drama. Wow. Okay, well this is going to be a mess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Elo Knight has the shares. So shortly after all this breaks out, Ipsimus and Elo get into a snit, and Elo usurps him using the corp shares to take back control of Origin.
Okay. Now, I mean, from a leadership perspective, this is sort of a newbie mistake. It depends upon how much cachet Elo has. So for those of you following along at home, a share fight means that you control a corporation in EVE Online through two methods. One is de facto control, in the sense that your people follow you as a leader. And the other kind of control is de jure control, which means that you are technically the CEO of the in-game entity and you have the game mechanics control. The game mechanics control is handled by shares, right? So when you see people trying to cast a vote using their shares to seize control, to seize the CEO bit in the game using shares, that is usually a massive shitstorm, because usually speaking, if the person has de facto control of the alliance or of the corporation, that means that they have the loyalty of their people. Their people choose to follow them. And if you have to resort to shares, that means that you're sort of skipping a step. You're like, if I control this in the game, that means that everybody is going to be loyal and follow me. So that almost inevitably in EVE, and this happens every year in a big, across NullSec, somebody does this damn silly thing. Whenever there's a let's have a vote to seize control of something, if you don't actually have the loyalty and control, if you don't actually have the loyalty of your troops, they will keep following the other guy, and the other guy will simply create a new entity that he has de jure and de facto control over. So, wow. Okay, so Elo seizes control.
Yeah, Elo seizes control, and then Ipsimus and his alt, which is his Titan, well, I guess all of his alts immediately are leaving the Alliance and moving on, as they put it. He's just going on to greener pastures, basically. So
okay.
I believe a few days later, the Black Legion actually hold 2 Alliance meetings in the same day. 2. And one of them is held by Capri Suns, which is one of the active leaders in Black Legion before Elo started to come back and usurp Ipsimus. And he announces that that these things are happening and that the active leaders, or most of the active leaders, will not be following Elo and will be leaving the Alliance to do their own thing, which assuming this is going to be your spin-off that you were just speaking of.
Yeah, no, I'm quite curious about this. I mean, I've been traveling for this last week, and so I've been in the unusual situation where not just in the dark, but I was essentially off the grid EVE-wise for the last 5 days. So I got back to Madison yesterday, and I look around, and I'm like, all right, guys, where are the fires? Because I'm so used to coming back and finding things on fire. Oh my. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So if you take a look at Dotland, I'm looking at this, guys, now that we're discussing this. And so that prediction I just made was totally off the cuff about the share fight thing. And I'm now bringing up Dotland here. So if you take a look at Black Legion's membership in the last few days, mother of God. Wow, well, I enjoy being right. There's absolutely... Oh, wow, that Origin member curve.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna drop this link here in chat so you guys can see what I'm giggling about. But take a look at that. That is a ugly slope.
Slopes for the slope gods.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the things that I was saying is that, and again, yay being right, who everybody likes being right, except when you buy into your own bullshit too much and think you're always right, which I'm always worried about. But if you take a look at this, you have the people who have been leading Black Legion in NullSec as a NullSec entity have been following either Ipsimus, Capri, or Raknor. And then you can have a share slap fight and come in and like flip over a table and say, I'm the boss because I have the shares. But you don't actually lead human beings by having control over an in-game item. And people follow you because they trust your judgment. They think you're going to bring them victory. They think that, you have their best interests at heart. And having a slap fight about breaking a rule for one of their buddies, that shows a degree of selfishness that is clearly not being reflected in these people following. So they're going to split off and go do. So Capri says he's going to leave.
Yep.
And other leaders won't be following him. Do you know who else is going to be? Any other big names going to be following Capri? Like
I saw on Reddit a screenshot, which just could be a complete troll. But I saw that Dog of War is leaving, which Dog of War is one of the most vocal members of Black Legion when it comes to Reddit and just anything public posting. He's a terrible poster.
He is a bad poster, and that's coming from me, and I'm the worst poster. So okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Capri's leaving. Laz knows not to ban me. What's up, CCP Manifest in chat? Everyone give a shout out to
Ned is
CCP,
going to be our guest
Manifest
next week, and Ned is always near and dear to our hearts because Ned is responsible for that amazing voiceover for the fashion commercial.
Also the intro.
66 North one. Yeah, the intro of the meta show, all of that is at Manifest's feet. And
speaking of which, I'll be in Atlanta next week, so you're hosting the show.
Okay.
By the way, just drop some knowledge on you right there.
By the way, I'm in charge of the meta show next week. Oh God, it'll be basically one big Hello Kitty online. Okay, so let's get back to the BL drama here. Let's sort of wrap this sucker up.
Yeah.
So Capri, Dog of War, Isthmus,
and I would assume Raknor would go with them. It depends. The thing is with Elo, he is an active main fleet FC. There is a handful of people in this game. Myself, Mr. V, Vince Draken, Villy. You have the Big Red Boat. You have Regalant, Elise Randolph. I mean, all these.
Bliss.
Yeah, Sister Bliss. All these main fleet FCs. They are a cult of personality. If they go one way and then your other people go a different way, they're going to siphon off people no matter what. No matter what, you're going to shed members to that cult of personality, and that's why main fleet FCs are so valuable in EVE.
Well, it's going to be really interesting here because one of the things that you see in this situation, and this comes up time and time again, is that you have what I like to call a Hold Superman's Cape alliance. So the example that I constantly use in the meta show is, of course, Atlas Alliance with Bobby Atlas, where you had this one leader who did everything. And Elo Knight was the Bobby Atlas of Black Legion for a long time. Now, what's happened here that's interesting is when somebody who used to do everything and then stopped and became unreliable comes back, everybody has to sort of do a mental calculus. If their cult of personality is active and they are engaged, then absolutely, if Superman goes to another alliance, everybody will follow. But if Superman has not really been around for the last 6 months and hasn't really done anything and seems like he's a little edgy, the question is who will follow him, especially if he's going to Lowsec and not being in NullSec, because Black Legion has been a NullSec alliance for a very long time, and Lowsec is a whole different ballgame. I mean, if everybody really liked Lowsec that much, there would be more players there. Lowsec is basically the single smallest demographic of EVE Online, and all of the Lowsec style gameplay that we see in Fozzie Sove, people would be cheering it rather than going, "This is horrible," and not logging into the game. So that's really interesting. So,
well, actually, I just got whispered on Twitch that there's actually a third group splitting off of Black Legion, which is the Euro BL is staying in Fountain as a new alliance, while Elo goes to Lowsec.
Oh,
so I'm not sure if it's
I could only guess that is
Raknor.
That's excellent, because I was looking over here too. I'm like sitting here, you guys can hear me typing over the microphone because I'm like trying to check with our agents to find out what the deal is here. That's right. You can see real-time spy intel here on the meta show as we use our net to answer questions. But that is really quite interesting. Okay, so that's very bad. I mean, it's good for the people who are loyal to Raknor. I would actually be really eager to see what that guy does, because he has been on my radar for ever since he took over and started getting people to do things in Fountain. Here is in my view, and I'm biased about this, of course, because it makes me look good. So take it with a grain of salt. But one of the things that really differentiates leadership, an alliance leader, from somebody who is FC who has been put into the position of an alliance leader, and you can be an FC and still do this. A lot of serious alliance leaders are FCs and are able to pass this test. And the test is, can you lead your people towards a greater goal that requires short-term pain and work and just isn't necessarily fun now, for a greater good that will give your people benefits and entertainment in the long run? And so with Raknor, one of the things that always impressed me is that here is a guy who has Elo's former cult of personality around him, who are all very super elite PvP types who don't really want to do any work, and manages to get them to take and hold successfully space in Fountain. Shifting from elite PvP roaming into, we want moons, we want assets, we want income, we want power, we want influence, and it's going to suck now, but it'll be awesome later. So I'm delighted to see that. Somebody is pointing out in chat that actually one of the best examples of an excellent FC, who is also an excellent leader, who is able to pass that test, is Sister Bliss from the Initiative. Bliss has been, amazing at that for years.
He's a long time player too.
Oh yeah, Bliss is ace, and that sort of segues nicely into discussions at Providence, because I think we've sort of besides getting popcorn, I think we've beaten the. Well, I find these alliance dramas to be fascinating because you get to see all the personalities and all the interests and everything just sort of tearing apart, which is the whole failure cascade thing that I got into EVE about in the first place. So
it's interesting. Like before we move on, it's. Typically, you don't see this type of action unless there's actually wars going on. But right now, it's happening on its own. Like, it's literally...
You need to have a stable structure. I mean, that's one of the things about... Like, one of the reasons why, we don't normally have drama in the Imperium is because when we see anything like this, I just shoot it as soon as I can, right? You have to have a stable structure in an institution and have people who respect the institution itself, because it's not about the personalities, right? Like, if I get hit by a bus... Not too much is really going to change in EVE. The Imperium will continue. The institutions are always the same. Somebody else will step up.
That's because I'm actually the leader of the Imperium, guys.
It is. Well, I mean, just don't shave your beard. It's actually your beard. So
yeah. You kidding me? If I shave my beard, I would have to quit. I would have to find a new job.
Okay, so I'm actually getting told that Raknor is pretty AFK these days. He might have gotten burned out by Fozzie Sove, but Raknor will be going with the European Black Legion guys. And apparently,
he was leading everything.
Boobs and Peak are the big Euros who are leading that faction. So fascinating stuff. We're going to be sitting there and watching this with popcorn in hand.
I'm really interested. I really like Raknor.
Yeah, it should be good stuff. Okay, so moving on. Do we want to talk about minor drama? We can mention offhand that Volta is leaving Triumphant, which is kind of
that's
odd.
Actually is kind of a big deal. Volta was the main group who formed Verge of Collapse, which Verge of Collapse was a really, really big tournament team contender. They have a lot of really good pilots. So them leaving Triumvirate is a big deal because they also just lost a Finn Corp, apparently, a Finnish Corp out of Triumvirate. And I believe Volta plus this Finn Corp equals, from what I was reading, about a third of their active members.
Well, these corporations haven't left yet from a brief look at Dotland, but that's another cultural shift because, 6 months ago, Triumphant was a roaming, ganking, elite PvP alliance kind of thing, sort of like Black Legion used to be. And now they've snuggled up with the Russians. They've got 53 soft systems, 32 outposts. It's a very traditional. You are in the drone regions. And the people who really signed up for Triumvirate Mark 14 or 15 or whatever it is, this is the thing that Tri does, guys. Like, this is one of the classic things in EVE's history is that Triumvirate explodes in drama about once a year. And, this is just the way it is. So I guess we're going to have to see that play out again.
Yeah, which is interesting.
And they lost Voltas. That's I keep getting surprised that the guys who leave Triumvirate keep going, hey, this is gonna work. Let's do it. It's kind of like, maybe my ex-girlfriend is different now and everybody's changed.
Maybe she won't sleep with everyone at the bar again.
Yeah,
I trust her this time.
Yeah, I don't even understand it all. It's just kind of weird. But hey, whatever floats their boat. If they want to do it, I'm not their mother, and they can provide a little bit of a drama for us down the road.
Gives us stuff to talk about in the meta show, right?
That's absolutely true, because we're certainly... Well, we do have a little bit of war that we can talk about besides personality drama. And I love personality drama because I'm a psych guy, and I was a spy guy before I was a CEO, so again, I'm biased. But most people are in NullSec because they want to see spaceships blow up and massive wars. And, well, I guess it's a nice thing that some jerk decided to throw a massive war for everybody a couple weeks ago. So let's talk about Provi, I guess.
Yeah,
Laz,
well,
what do you...
I kind of want, I know I've got it laid out in the sheet Provi first, but being that it's going let's shift to Lowsec first, then go back. Just because Provi will take a little bit of time, just because we tend to run our mouths a lot.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So let's jump straight into the Lowsec section, which there is the biggest brawl we've seen in a while, actually. Snuffed out plus their friends versus Shadow Cartel and Dead Terrorist. have a brawl in Lowsec over an R64 moon. 120 billion ISK fight. That is giant for the past, what, 2 months? I mean, that's a massive fight.
Forever, it seems. We haven't had a really... I mean, the last time we saw a really massive fight was when Initiative ganked that NC Dot Supercap convoy and got all those juicy kills, and that was more of a ganking rather than a slugfest. I would like to point out here for any amateur game designers who happen to be watching this, let's see what was the fight over. The fight was over...
money.
NR64, which is money, which is something that has value, that is a single point in space, i.e. a tower. And this is one of the reasons why we had these fights in Dominion Sov, of course. So it's because we had single point fights in space over objectives that, here's a flag, let's fight over it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people who are saying for a long time that we should reduce the value of moons and then we should, you know, get rid of R64s or have them move around. The reason why these fights happen is that everybody knows that at a date certain, this tower is going to come out of reinforced and there will be at least two sides there fighting.
Right.
And that invites all the third parties to the, you know, to tango as well. So it's great to see moon fights still happening. And you see them primarily in Lowsec because that's where moons are still being contested.
I think some of the most fun fights in EVE that I've had have been around some sort of pass, be it a super
always
casserole
moon
pass.
fights, yeah, CSAAs or moons. In Dominion, you would have fights about iHubs and SBUs, but you would split things up in the system with SBU fights a lot,
Right.
so it could be a bit of a mess. So Lowsec is always an interesting thing. If you take a look at this battle report there, which I'll go ahead and put in the chat, you know, you do get to see these Macarial fleets, you get to see Legion fleets, you get to see a lot of things.
Lowsec's a lot like Wormhole Space, where everything is blinged shit. Because there's no bubbles. There's no bubbles in Lowsec. So a lot of times they don't have to worry about getting their pods bubbled and stuff like that. So a lot of these people running around with high-grade slave sets, so massive hit points on these ships. It's complete different atmosphere when it comes to fighting these fleets in the Lowsec compared to...
No bubbles. Yeah, no, people bling their stuff out and then they get very smug about their ships because they're fighting with something expensive. And then it's always funny whenever Lowsec goes to NullSec, whenever NullSec goes to Lowsec, because NullSec players have a totally different attitude. They fit their ships differently. And usually you end up with like an Asakai or a Darius or something like that. Not that you would know anything about that, Laz.
Graph lied, Goons died. That's all I'm going to say.
Seriously. So, well, that's interesting. It's good to see R64 fights happening. And then what else do we have over here? We have, in general, these big fights are happening in Lowsec now. And that might be why you see the Elo Knights and the When I Am in Space, you know, the Black Legion.
Didn't Test move to Lowsec too? Didn't Test say to hell with this and move to Lowsec as well?
I don't think so. I think that was a troll. They still have territory in Wicked Creek unless they moved it in the last week when I was AFK.
I think it was 2 to 3 weeks ago that Test put out Lions Mail saying that they're going to be going back to Lowsec, and that maybe just someone just...
Well, darling, that was a troll, and it looks like they got you because they still have other space in Wicked Creek.
Well, it's not like I really pay attention to Test, just saying.
That is true. So, but I mean, Lowsec is a very small... you know, in terms of the amount of people playing there. And the other thing about it is you kind of see in Lowsec these days, it's usually the same groups of people who are getting more power and then engaging in these throwdowns of our 64s. In a microcosm, you're kind of seeing some of the patterns that were a problem in Sov NullSec beginning to reach into Lowsec because people want to join the winning team. The better organized, with better supplies, with better commanders, sides win. So you end up with only at most 3 or 4 major players who are able to compete at the level of a snuff box, right? It's kind of like we saw in Dominion and NullSec, where you must have. I mean, look at this. This is a fight where everybody's using pimped out Macarials. People are using super carriers on the field. All the sort of stuff that was a problem. Oddly enough, the people who were saying that the old soft system were a problem are now the people who are fleeing to Lowsec to engage in the same kind of gameplay that they fled from previously.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Well, I mean, and if this second fight here, actually, I'll drop the link in chat for it as well. You can see there's actually quite a few different contenders, and looks like some of these are kind of messed up. Some of these sides are messed up in this report, but to just give you a quick glimpse of how it is, where you see Imperium, you see Pandemic Legion, you see Lowsec entities. This is all in Bossburger, which I believe is Mimitar Faction Warfare space, and it's just all these different players going to Lowsec for this content now. And
people will travel for fights. I mean, that's what we saw with Dominion, and after the Phoebe changes, people have been complaining. Like things shifted. I've noticed in the discourse from people complaining about the exact mechanics of Fozzie Sove to a lot of people are now going back and complaining about the jump changes, where the fatigue is too high, the jump restrictions are too extreme, because people see these fights and they want to participate in them. When Boat screws up in Asakai, everybody wants to come running. Darius, VR5, etc. So
yeah, well, I mean, back before Phoebe, back before the wormhole nerf, the way that the content EVE was generated was you had people like Pandemic Legion, who Pandemic Legion will get 100 carriers. They will fill the carrier's ship maintenance bay full of ships, and they will deploy to a NPC station, a X-70, a OneSmeb, any of those NPC stations in the various regions. They will drop 100 carriers on that station, and then they will generate content in that area with their subcapital ships. Like they'll still use their capitals and stuff when they need to, but typically they're going to be there to just generate fights and have fights for themselves. But because of Phoebe and because of the wormhole changes, it's that much harder for them to be able to be nomadic and generate content in these various regions, the same way that the bigger groups like Imperium and once upon a time NC I don't believe it as big as it used to be, are able to do. So because of these movement nerfs, people are having to travel to Lowsec via gates, and everyone's moving into Lowsec because that's where you can get close proximity fights.
People will go to what they want. And the fact of the matter is that if you try to change what people want by altering game mechanics, you're not going to suddenly, like, this is the difficulty thing that we talk about over and over again. People want big fights. People want a third party on things. People want to do all of this. And what you're seeing is not some sort of amazing renaissance where people are going, wow, we had a 5 billionist slap fight. It was the most amazing thing. We love this. They're going, Jesus Christ, I'm still going to do what I can to get to the big fights, because that's the gameplay I want. I want to be part of a massive Star Wars, Legend of Galactic Heroes style mass war. And now I've got to slog even more to get that. People are not suddenly going, oh, wow, I want to be on an Alliance tournament team in 5v5. That's just the fact. And if you don't like that, human nature will disappoint you, because you have to go with what humans want. So we have seen here what people are doing is these low-sec fights are big because they start over a single point conflict of high value, and then everybody slogs the third party because people want to be part of the big fights rather than some sort of random crap. One of our guys in the chat pointed out, Azur and Argent said, back in the day, 120 billion ISK fight wasn't used. We would call that Tuesday.
Yes.
That's true.
Well, because I'm not involved with TMC editorial side besides putting up articles that I need written, but you would know, like, the old pre-Phoebe, what was the threshold for a article to make a fight to make news?
We would have a 25 billion ISK relevance threshold. Anything below, and individual supercarriers didn't count because they had like flies, and reading an article about that, who cares? A Titan dying would be news. Any fight that broke 25 billion ISK we would report on, and usually we had more battle reports each day than we knew what to do with, and so we would have to prioritize the things.
Yeah. And actually, just to jump back for a second to clarify, I'm getting trolled in chat by whenever I said PL generating content. If you look at every single major conflict in EVE Online, every single major conflict that there's ever been in EVE Online, there's been some sort of PL involvement. If you look back at the Halloween War, that was all Pandemic Legion FCs. That was all Pandemic Legion FCs.
People like to say that they don't generate content because they're on the wrong side of being the content generated. Everybody wants to be the killer. They don't want to be killed. Nobody actually likes to lose. But in a zero-sum game like EVE, somebody's got to lose, or nobody plays. And so what you're seeing here, I mean, people can make bitter comments about how PL doesn't generate content, but they are flat out wrong and should feel ashamed of themselves. So let's not waste any time about the people who are wrong and should feel ashamed of themselves. And let's, sort of a low-sec-y type thing. Do we want to talk about the Stunt Flores stuff, or do we want to move on to talking about Providence first?
Let's talk about Stunt Flores. Looks like we have about 23 minutes left in the show, so we'll hit Stunt Flores, and then we'll hit a little bit about the cap rebalance, then we'll circle back around.
And we'll do Provi. Okay, so this is a little weird. I mean, I was unaware of this drama because I was flying home. But basically, there's this guy named Stunt Flores who is famous, I guess. He's got a small corp called Anime Masters, so he and his crew will probably be pleased by my Legend of Galactic Heroes reference. But he would use the Stratios, pop out of wormholes, and kill lots of goons. The guy wanted to see himself as the Scourge of Declan. He ganked a lot of AFK Ratters, but he was a dedicated enemy of ours, and he posted a lot on social media about it. And then something really weird happened. Basically, the guy, he apparently had been hit with temp bans occasionally in the past, but apparently he made a joke on Tweet Fleet Slack. And this is an important thing. So there is a Slack channel that anybody can join called Tweet Fleet Slack, which is affiliated with the Tweet Fleet Twitter hashtag if you're like a social media Twitter guy.
There's actually a lot of people in it.
There's a lot of people in it. There's a lot of CCP people in it, but it is not a CCP affiliated thing. It is a thing that I think a guy from Adirion Robotics originally put together. And so all of this Stunt Flores drama takes place not in EVE Online, not on anything that's affiliated with CCP officially at all. Run by a player is basically some random Slack channel. It would be the equivalent, and this is an important thing, it would be the equivalent of me mouthing off on my own Jabber server for Goonswarm, right? So, I mean, from what I understand here, there was some sort of joke where Stunt said that he was impersonating Fozzie about like how Fozzie said everybody will just adapt to Fozzie Sove and it'll be wonderful. And then apparently Fozzie sees this, gets mad, and reports it up to the GMs or internal affairs and gets the guy banned because I guess he just had such a thin skin about it or something or other. And this is, I mean, what makes me concerned about this isn't so much the reaction to the kind of thing that any seasoned EVE player would just go like, whatever. This isn't even insulting. Like, it's just kind of like, ha ha ha, whatever. Now there's a big focus on it. But what's weird about it is that all this stuff took place on something completely not in EVE Online, not affiliated with CCP, totally offsite, totally third party, and now the guy is getting banned out of nowhere because, and I don't care how big his rap sheet is, if the guy is doing this completely outside of EVE, you know, it just stinks. It's weird. I mean, I don't get it. It seems like at a time like, I mean, I don't know. What do you know more of the details? Laz?
Yeah, I mean, here's a Reddit post that actually Stunt Flores made. I will put. Actually, I can't link it. Oh, whatever. I'll link it. It's not. It's like against the Reddit or wherever that is. Like if too many people click it or something, it gets blocked or I don't know. But there you go. There's a link. Go ahead and click it. I don't care.
About it too, so you guys can find it as well.
Basically, from what I understand, was he was linking comments of Fozzie to another player and. I'm not sure if Stunt did the editing or if his friend did. His friend did. But in this Reddit article it says blah blah blah. This somehow turns into MS Paint edits and posts on Reddit. So basically, they are able to grab the picture and his tag out of Slack, and then they use MS Paint or Photoshop or whatever, and delete the text that's actually there. And I think they insert their own text. Is what happened.
I mean. You know, the thing about this that's weird to me is that, like, you know, this is a guy who's cried wolf about stuff before. He's been killing my people for a while. Like, he's a dedicated enemy of ours. And, you know, in theory, I should just be like, oh, he was bullying up our guys and so should be happy about this. But, like, you know, this is just stupid as all hell. I mean, we've confirmed that the guy is, in fact, banned. At least I've been told by people that he has in fact been permabanned by this way. This actually happened, and this, you know, this could have happened on our Jabber server. I mean, this is Tweet Fleet Slack. It's not CCP. Like, the thing that's weird about this is like, okay, if you're in a situation, I mean, this is just PR 101, right? So if you're in a situation, and we have an example of this from EVE Online during the Incarnate Crisis, right? If you're in a situation where your player base, which has a history of rioting in the first place, is riotously torqued off about something, the way that you get people to chill out is you communicate with them, you apologize. If you can't apologize, you at the very least say, oh, let's talk this out, right? Let's have a dialogue, let's have a discourse, let's do whatever. Creating a martyr out of Stunt Flores over something that, like, you know, most EVE players say things that are far worse than this to each other on, you know, an hourly basis. So picking an extremely minor offense that most people just go, ha ha ha, good one, and make nothing of it. Now there's the player base, which is already irate is looking at this and going, here's this guy getting singled out because the person whose name is on the system that everybody is upset about can't handle even that level of trolling. I mean, this isn't even insulting. This is just like, this is completely irrelevant. There's no reason why we should even be having to talk about this, because there should have never been any reaction from CCP about this. Even if this had happened in EVE Online, in the client, the smart move would have been to not react to it at all and not have any kind of controversy.
EVE is known for being a ruthless game, and this everyone outside of EVE that doesn't play EVE see all about the heists and the scamming and stuff like that. So something like this shouldn't really affect the game, but whenever you see him getting permanently banned for it, it is a little like I could see like maybe a 30-day vacation. I could see that, because with where EVE is at right now and how sensitive an issue Fozzie Sove is right now, and how much conflict is around Fozzie with some of the statements he's made in the past about it. I mean, I could see a little vacation would be justified.
If he's got a long rap sheet, but I mean, if that happened, the thing is,
well, he just got off of another ban, because I'm pretty sure
for something he did in EVE. Like, this is the thing that is weird to me, and this is the reason why I'm bringing this up. Like, if the guy had done it in EVE, then he would have been impersonating a GM or impersonating a dev, and that is clearly against the EULA, right? The issue here is not that this happened in EVE, because it didn't happen in EVE. The issue here is a third-party chat channel, not run by CCP, not covered by the EULA in any way, and because they apparently were offended by this, they decided to extend the shadowy grasp of the EULA, because they can just say it is whatever they want it is, and then do this to this guy. I mean, that's crap. If he'd done it in EVE, then yeah, absolutely, we wouldn't be talking about this. But it's just really weird. It would be kind of like, you know, you tweeted something that they didn't like and said something mean about Fozzie, and then he's going to complain because you tweeted in a mean way, or, you know, you said, I'm CCP Fozzie, and I said blah, 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 and so, you know, you get banned. It's completely outside of the scope of the reach of you love the game, and it's crap. And it's not just crap, it's tone deaf crap. Like, that's the thing I don't get about it also. It's like, okay, we all see the number of logins, right? Yeah. Do you really want to pick this fight with somebody who is known for screaming and crying on social media everywhere, right? Like, Stunt Flores is loud. That's how I know who he is. Not just because he ganks our guys. So it's just politically tone deaf. It's bad for business, fundamentally speaking. I mean, CCP, let's not forget, EVE Online is a business. Its job is to keep players happy and paying money into the system and making money. And, you know, I don't know. It's just dumb.
It's a very controversial subject, and like you said, for EVE being such a harsh environment and such a harsh game that everyone knows about it, like literally, if you ask anyone like that knows about gaming and knows about MMOs and stuff like that about EVE Online, they're going to tell you about BR5. They're going to tell you about the massive scams, and just something like this doesn't seem like it would be what you would see out of a game developer that made a game like EVE.
Yeah, it's funny because people in chat are saying that the Imperium should put together a lawyer storm. We actually do have. We've had lawyer storm for years. It's literally lawyer storm.
So many lawyers.
We have a bazillion lawyers. But this isn't. I mean, for people who aren't lawyers, like, this is one of the reasons why this kind of thing can happen unless people say something about it, is because, you know, law, it's international law. EULAs are never litigated anyway. The reality is, and this is the truth that most people in the games industry try to not look at, is the reality is that people can do anything as long as they're willing to do it, take the PR hit, and there's no actual litigation that comes from it, and there won't be any litigation. If a company bans a player, I don't care what the game is, it could be World of Warcraft or whatever, and you see that in your interpretation that was against the EULA and that you were banned unfairly, you have no recourse unless you're willing to actually litigate, which means that you have to be rich to go after them or have media access to be able to put a spotlight on it. So, I don't know, it's just foolish.
It's weird. But, like, on one hand, if it wouldn't have hit the front page of Reddit and gotten all the attention, his copy-paste job, or his editing on his photo, nothing would have happened of it. Like, if it was just him and his friends sharing a laugh, nothing would happen. But for them to take it and post it on Reddit and get all of that public attention, then you basically just put a giant spotlight on it.
Exactly, which was completely predictable. I mean, that's the thing. This guy is a known shit stirrer, and, you know, you do something like this to a known shit stirrer, what is he gonna do? oh wow, he went and he made a big stink about it. So now everybody knows about it. It looks funny. It looks questionable. It has to be addressed when it could have just been totally ignored and nobody would say anything about it. So, right. Well, that's dumb. And I don't have any commentary besides, dude, what the hell? Why? And how avoidable. So why don't we go on to something a little bit more interesting? Like, we could talk about tap rate rebalance.
Let's hit it real quick. It's not much. Like, literally, they've not told us anything about it, which is why I put it in here. Jane Fillion, CSM member, posted on on Twitter, is talking about how awesome the cap changes look. And I believe that was 2.5 weeks ago. But we still, as the public, as the main player base of EVE, we've not seen anything about it from CCP. So the CSM is teasing the public about it, that they've seen the changes, but yet we haven't seen them. So how are we supposed to put an input?
I mean, I imagine that was probably a breach. That was probably Jane Fillion probably got in trouble after that, if I had to guess. Because if the CSM is told that they can hint or do things like that, they will continue to do that. You saw that one tweet about how the capital rebalance is amazing and he's really happy about it, and then there's been nothing from any of the CSMs. So what that tells me, having been on the CSM and knowing how all this stuff works, is that he was off the reservation and got told to sit down and shut up, and nobody else has gone to the reach there. So at least he's happy enough to say that there's good news. And hopefully the team that is doing the capitals will be as communicative as the structures team. Yeah, Nullarbor is a great example.
That was such a good episode last week. They were so open. That
was amazing. Can we clone that guy? And he doesn't have to run all of the game design or anything. Just have him as a spokesman for each of the teams communicating with us. We wouldn't be having half of the anger in the community about Fozzie Sove if that team communicated with the player base in the same fulsome, considered way that CCP Nullarbor did. I mean, that guy is great. He's going to come back around. We'll have more questions for him. It's wonderful. These are things that we can ask CCP Manifest next week, because he's in charge of CCP PR, and we have a lot of serious things to ask.
I'll be in Atlanta at a bar with him, and that's where I'll be doing the show from.
Excellent.
So it'll be the EVE Atlanta meet this coming September 12th. I'll be there from the start to finish. I believe I'm also riding up. I'm driving. Someone's riding with me up from Atlanta. So if you're in the Savannah area and need a ride, let me know. I am driving up. But guys, I'm also going to go ahead and start the giveaway process. We're giving away two Pirate Rookie ship codes. So we'll get those out to you. All you have to do is type in chat and follow the channel. If you don't type in chat or follow the channel, you cannot win.
Yes.
And then let's see. But yeah, so the capital changes. I was the FC for BR5. I was the Imperium FC for BR5. And I do a lot with capitals. I really want to have input on this before it goes live, because some of these changes will come out and then we'll see them, and then like a few days later, they're on the server. But
we keep seeing that kind of really quick turnaround, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's like, this is what we wanted, but the fact that it's just we showed it to the CSM and here it is. And this is totally off our track of, like, we have a little show notes document that we take notes on. This is totally off the record. I'm really beginning to wonder if the 6-week release cycle, which was heralded as this big amazing thing, is just fragging the CCP dev crew, right? I mean, there's never any rest. There's, with the 2 or 3 expansions a year, you would have this release cycle of, you go through it, planning, communication with the community, crunch time, release, go on vacation. And this was sort of a normal thing. And now it seems like, some teams have a Nullarbor on it, who is going above and beyond, and props to that guy. That is not his job. His job is not to talk to the community. He's doing that out of the kindness of his own heart. And we love the guy for it. Even if he implements something we disagree with, we're going to go like, well, you talked to us, you heard us, you disagreed with us, which is your right because you're in charge. But at least you communicate with people. And I think maybe the 6-week release cycle is part of the reason why we're seeing this kind of short run. Hey, here's a change. We showed the CSM for an hour or two, and then immediately we posted in public, and then it's in next week, and we'll revise it later, because I think that it's unusual. It's not done anywhere in the industry that I know of. And
it was good at first. It worked out really well at first, but now it's getting to the point where they are they're trying to rush into things so quickly that they're not giving enough time, I think.
I make it quarterly. You don't need to have 2 expansions a year. An expansion, I mean, quarterly would be a decent balance between, once every 6 months and, once every 6 weeks. I mean, the devs are, and give these guys a break, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about Providence, and we only have 8 minutes left, so we should actually talk about that.
So we need to make a choice. I forgot actually something. There is the NC dot thing we didn't really hit on.
Okay.
Or do we want to hit on NC dot or we hit on Provi?
Well, the NC dot thing is very simple because they moved to Tartoken, which is on the border of Imperium space, and have done approximately fuck and all. I thought that we were going to have all of our space on fire because that's on the border to Pureblind, and they've just been farting around with little rattlesnake fleets under Travis Muskrat. So there's no real news there. They deployed up to the edge of Imperium space, and then they've been there for a week now because they deployed on Saturday of last week. Nothing has happened. Let's talk about Provi. So we're done. Provi.
Done. All right, that was easy.
It was very easy because they did nothing.
All right, guys. So Providence, I really I kind of wish we had another 30 minutes to go into Provi because there's so much we can talk about, and I probably should make a full in-depth post, which I think I might do.
We're still actually compiling a lot of the data. I mean, one of the things about Provi, and this is the first real war that we've had in Fozzie Sove. And we did it with our arms tied behind our back and with a blindfold on, because instead of trying to learn over the course of one war what tactics work, we essentially broke our invasion plan into each constellation was its own little micro war. Different tactics, different doctrines, different methodology. So one of the things that's been interesting is we're getting the actual data in terms of participation, success. You can see who blew up the iHubs and who didn't, but that's not necessarily a consequence. It's not necessarily a reflection on the Imperium Alliance that was assigned to that territory.
Right.
Some of the defenders were extremely aggressive. Like UI Federation did amazing work in defending. CVA formed up a lot, but we had the main force of the Imperium on top of them. They still formed up. They still did great. Core Blood Brothers A+. But when you look at a constellation and you see a failure for the Imperium forces to destroy all their assigned iHubs, the question is, was there a doctrine failure? Because if you go to war with a doctrine that doesn't work, you're not going to be able to flip that around in 4 days. And this war was only 4 days long, guys. This is the fastest war in EVE history. So is that an actual reflection on the pilots there? Not necessarily. Maybe their doctrine didn't work. Maybe
we had doctrine failures.
We had
our Sleeple fleet.
Oh my God.
Our Sleeple fleet was completely useless.
Our troll scepters were a disaster. The people who actually showed up and did some of the best things that we learned from was executive outcomes, because they were the ones who first hit upon the idea that you need to have a heavy dedicated hacking ship with guards to be able to go through this. Goonswarm was using like paper, tissue paper troll scepters in hopes to hack, and then PL, who of course don't create content, created a lot of content, and we were the content with these claw fleets, the Fozzie claws, which are again interdiction nullified interceptors are dumb. They have always been dumb. But they come in, blow up the little tissue paper hack ships, and screw off, and then you've got to restart your hack cycle. And more power to them. I'm not going to say that they were destroying content. They created content. They forced us to adapt, which was interesting.
And using EXE's example for the heavy hack ships, I actually, because we were using five launcher Tengus, I had 10 Tengus in my fleet, every single fleet. They would fit the Tech 2 and Tosis link, which has a shorter warm-up cycle than the T1, so everything's goes a little bit quicker. And using that, we actually just started dropping these brick tank Tengus onto these nodes so they can't get volleyed by these interceptors. And I was able to control like a 3 to 4 system area by putting these super tank Tengus on there. And because they're part of the fleet doctrine, they're still able to do DPS, still able to contribute to the fleet. They're just missing a single launcher. So just being able to bounce around and even like I actually had Lord Xander, a extremely high Dutchman, take a 10-man group and also control like dead-end systems and stuff like that. So because all the stuff that we were coming into issues with was 10 to 15-man Cerberus gangs running around and killing our hack ships before we were able to respond.
Yeah,
so,
heavy hack ships with guards are something that will be critical, and this is something that everybody has picked up on from this war. For all future Fozzie Sove wars, you will see heavy hack ships with at least 1 or 2 guards. A lot of people are using command ships. A lot of people are using Hictors. A lot of people are just using heavy Tengus. But once you do that, you're putting enough of a stake on the table that you don't have to worry about random interceptors blowing it up before help gets there. So that was probably the single most critical strategic lesson. You are highly unlikely to see another honeycomb style, terror cell style war. Certain alliances I think that the pacing was a problem. I think you'll see people next time we go to war, which will be soon, because these wars are, again, 3 to 4 days. 3 days if you do well, 4 days for cleanup if you screw up on day one, right?
Yeah.
Reinforce what you missed there. Day 4, you clean up too. But if we brought everybody together and we just did 2 constellations a day instead of an entire region, it would essentially be unstoppable. If you use heavy hack ships, if you go, here are these 2 constellations, on day 1 you're hitting the enemy's staging system, so you're flipping it and rendering it useless and taking out their bridge nexus. Bringing the entire Imperium together, hostile staging constellation and 1 bordering it. Day 1, everybody grinds that and paces themselves.
Yeah.
You can still clean up an entire region approximately, let's see, 7-day war, and then it takes an additional 2. So you could have a 14 constellation region dead in, I believe, 9 days.
I think that's definitely doable. Like I said, whenever this was going on, our comms, our mumble comms, were just complete clusterfuck. Like literally clusterfuck.
Absolutely. And that was part of the problem. The problem was that we tried to do too much at once. So we had everybody in these different comms, command channel talking over each other. But that's why I'm thinking like the focus. The other thing about it is burnout. I mean, I was there on the field, logged in for like 12 hours a day during this period, which was interesting. I was having fun. But that also let me see the facts on the ground. And our guys, I mean, the pace was relentless. I set the pace, and I'm a dick. I wanted to see what we could do. But, having a slightly slower pace, a lot of our guys at the end of the war were upset because they're like, hey, people joined the war. They got all fired up, ready to go, and they think a war is a month and a half long, and then it's done in like 3 or 4 days, and we're home.
From
like,
Sunday to Thursday, this is my job now. Like, just playing EVE Online, doing this type of stuff is my job now. I put 55 hours in EVE Online that week. 55 hours.
And then it was done.
Yes.
And if we slowed the pace down slightly, and since TCUs are so irrelevant, let's say we don't want to frag our guys with endless nodes. You want to just focus on the iHubs. You mainly want to capture 1 station. The gameplay of hacking is not fun. Straight up, it is not fun. So you minimize it. When we went into Providence, we hit a lot of stations. We hit a lot of TCUs because we could. We didn't realize that the node spam would just be so boring and awful when they came out. So what happens if next time you go 2 constellations at a go, you don't split up your block, you only hit iHubs? 2, hit it and quit, hit it and quit, hit it and quit, hit it and quit. Suddenly, the constellation is done with. Heavy hack ships. You don't have to worry about node spam, so you're not confused. The only nodes that are getting spawned are those that relate directly to an iHub.
I'm gonna have to cut you off.
It's time for giveaways.
Yeah, Isildra has won the first chip. Isildra, thank you, man, so much. Completely rigged, guys. Always rigged all the time on the TMC channel. And then the next giveaway is going to be Combat Zerg. Combat Zerg is going to be the second winner there. I believe it's a sub as well. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you all you guys who are also our resubs today and the new subs, which is Cool Rabbit. Thank everyone here for tuning in. Completely rigged all the time. And Aerith wants you to give a shout out to Aerith for his article that's going to be coming out this week, I believe.
Absolutely. And once again, shameless plug. Don't forget that you can rent from Goonswarm and the Imperium by checking out our Section 8 program. It's amazing. You can actually join Goonswarm with your little corp and rat in pure blind and almost total safety because apparently our enemies have all given up.
Yep.
And,
so, guys, next weekend, Saturday, I will be in the EVE Atlanta meet at Neighbors Pub. So if you want to come see me wave in the background of the Meta Show while I'm doing the Meta Show live from the pub itself with CCP Manifest. And then later tonight, I'm actually going to be... My stream this week decided that I should play a horror game on stream. And I hate scary games. I fucking hate scary games.
Me too.
I can't do them.
Scared. It's not really my thing.
So tonight around 8 or 9 U.S. Eastern, I'm going to be playing Layers of Fear on stream. I've heard it's terrifying, so I'm...
Yeah. Well... Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Don't worry. And also, guys, don't forget we've got the Undead Zone coming up next with all the H1Z1 news that's fit to print. And then after that is the Boat Show. So stay tuned. We've got a lot of great programming for you coming up all through this Saturday.
Again, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Wave. Close it.
I already did. Oh, you're waiting for...
I'm waiting for the stream to go.